The pressure around don't settle means you are showing up, whether it's in the arena, in the stadium, boardroom. You're choosing to bet on yourself or your team, even though odds are against you. You're choosing to choose hard.
Hello, everyone. We feeling good? I love to hear it. I love the energy. The theme of today's panel, which is Don't Settle. Thank you so much, of course, to Rich and Boardroom for making this happen, and to State Farm. I'm really excited to dive into this conversation because, as you can see, we have such a rich diversity of voices and experiences up here. And I have so many questions to ask you all about just how this don't settle mindset has propelled you and your career. So I'm going to start with you, Victor. All of you have pushed boundaries in a lot of different ways, from the field to the front office to the boardroom. But when you hear that phrase, don't settle, what does it mean to you personally?
Oh man, for me, don't settle. I mean, that's been my mindset, since I was young. I was never the tallest, I was never the fastest, I was never the strongest in any team or sport atmosphere that I played in, but I was always the one who was willing to do the most. I was always the one that was willing to stay later and work harder and try to be faster, or to be as fast, and to raise my game to the caliber of the guys that I looked up to on every respective team that I played on. So that term, never settle, is something that follows me each and every day that I play the sport, even now outside of the game, when I'm doing deals, when I'm having these conversations about things that I want to do outside of the game. That term of whatever my mindset is built towards, whatever I want to go get that. I never want to settle on, let's just open one Crystal's fast food chain. No, I want 5. Let's do 5, and let's put my name on all of them and put my jersey number in the front of the store and put my memorabilia all over this bad boy. And I'm not settling for just one. You know what I mean? So that mindset has just been part of my DNA since I was a kid.
And we also, I got to say, we got to give it up for the fit. Look at Victor Cruz, ladies and gentlemen.
I knew I was coming to visit some esteemed people, some ladies and gentlemen in here,
We've
so I can't correct
winter. We're growing out the beard.
We're checking. I'm going to turn this way because I feel better. And Tuck is hating. I sense hate coming from the left side.
I wish y'all know the history of that conversation that they're having right now between me and Vic.
Hey, we have lots of time. We'll get to that in the end.
We'll get there.
Kristyn, for you, what has don't settle meant in your life?
I think, to your point, mindset is everything. And to me, it's about how you handle pressure. And I had the good fortune last year, actually, to connect with Billie Jean King, who kind of coined my favorite phrase, pressure is a privilege. It only comes to those who earn it. And so the pressure around don't settle means you are showing up, whether it's in the arena, in the stadium, boardroom, in the meeting, you're showing up and you're making choices. You're choosing to bet on yourself or your team, even though odds are against you. You're choosing to choose hard and to handle hard better, because sometimes the easy path, it's nice sometimes, right, to take the easy path, but, and you're choosing to bet on yourself too, and remembering who you are, and that's where authenticity lives. And then sometimes being vulnerable too. And so I think the not settling piece, it just unlocks so much potential in terms of what's possible, wrapped around that pressure, which is you know what, you want to feel it. It makes you feel alive.
I love that. How long did it take you to really redefine what pressure meant in your life?
I think I might not have been on the football field, but early on, I built an affinity for a wonderful sport called basketball and developed a love of the game. And, it was back home in Little Washington, PA, the court there. And then it took me to Syracuse, where I got to play basketball as well. And so I'm just a corporate athlete now. And so my game has changed. And so those core principles that you learn being part of a team and shooting your shot, and the scoreboard never lies, right? Those things kind of stick with you. And so it's just kind of the essence of who I am way back when.
Wow, corporate athlete.
I love that. Yeah, it's so good.
Let me put that in my pocket.
Yeah,
real quick. Take that one for later. That was good.
Chat GPT, thank you very much.
No, corporate athlete is so good, and a great segue to the corporate athlete.
In the flesh.
Yeah. Yes. The one and only Justin Tuck. What is don't settle for you?
I mean, listen, you just heard 2 phenomenal depiction of what that means. I would add that for me, it just meant I always wanted to be a chameleon. With any room I walked into, I always wanted to take something from someone else and make it my own. I do not believe in reinventing the wheel. I think there's people that go before us in any sector, anything we do in life that has paved the way for us to at least not have the same pitfalls as other people. So for me, no, don't settle is in some phrase that means, whatever business I'm doing or whatever sport I'm playing or whatever, do as much of that business as you can. As Vic attests to it, Vic played the slot, he returned punts, he showed up early, he was the person that was leading meeting rooms, et cetera, et cetera. He did as much for the team as he could do. I played D tackle, linebacker, D end. I've actually walked out and covered people like Vic, not successfully, but because they asked me to do it, I did it. But I wanted to know everything there was about football, and I think that allowed me to be the best player I could be. Now in the role I play for Goldman Sachs, I want to know everything there is to know about finance, everything there is to know about our clients and how I can add value in that sector, because it makes it very difficult for you to get replaced, right? And I know in the role I live in, hopefully I can be one person doing 5 jobs. So it allows me to stick around a little bit longer than what I did. And that was football for me, sticking around a little bit longer than what I should have probably stuck around because I did so many different things. So don't settle for me just means, you know what, don't say no to an opportunity just because you don't know how to do it. Learn from the people who have done it before you and then go and make that thing your own thing. So that's what it means for me.
Taylor, there's a term in football that I know Justin knows this one very well, and he alluded to it a little bit, is the more you can do. And as football players, especially in the NFL, y'all know it ain't for long, whether it's injury that gets you or many other things. But we've always talked about the more things that you can do and bring to a team, whether that's return punts, play a little defense, play gunner, play special teams, be a wide receiver. Can you get the ball from the backfield, be a running back? Like the more things you can do, you become more of an asset to your respective team. And 31 other teams are watching that too, which means they can also pick you up if that team lets you go. You can go to another team and do those same things, and that can elongate your career. So I think that same mindset, I think a lot of successful players bring that to outside of the game when they retire as well, because we've been so keyed in on that particular mindset while we were athletes.
And I'll add one more thing, because I know you got a lot of questions. I don't know. But like that also means, to me, I've seen it where opportunities just start to find you. Your bosses or your boss's bosses say, oh, he could do that. Well, let's throw that in the mix and just see how he handles that or how she handles that. And before you know it, you're elevating. And I just feel like, every time I get the opportunity to learn a new craft or learn a new whatever, I'm just putting myself in a position to hopefully, get paid on something extra, get an opportunity to do something extra, get an opportunity to see something new. You never know, right? So like, especially in a place like the NFL, like, corporate finance, corporate whatever, whenever you get the opportunity to say, you know what, I don't know about this, but here's an opportunity for me to grow, that typically leads back to more opportunities later on in the session. So
I love this because what I hear you all talking about, of course, is versatility and being a Swiss Army knife. But it's also about being open to newness. And there's like a real vulnerability in learning and trying things that you haven't done before. But to your point, there is a prize at the end because you're opening yourself up to new opportunities. But it can still be scary. So Kristyn, I'm curious how learning has opened things up for you and taking that step into the unknown.
I think when I think about my career, it's the ups and downs, the arcs. And learning is always at the foundation. And I think first and foremost, it's pushing yourself sometimes to shoot your shot, whether or not it's getting your voice in the room and learning how, to frame things so that people listen, and not saying I think, but saying I recommend. And that comes off more strong, right? It's also learning about you don't know what you don't know. And it's okay, because there's a lot of expertise that I have, but at the same time, you have to show the vulnerability too, in terms of here's what I don't know. And oftentimes that's about surrounding yourself with really good people, a lot of them that I have here, in terms of being on a team. And so I think it's just that relentless pursuit. And I've often said that leadership is both an art and science, and that you have to constantly study it. And for me, it was about, I want to read about it. So sometimes I would grab a Harvard Business Review and consume that, whatever it is. There's the academic side of it. Then there's the side of like watching, right? And you're watching to say that, more of that, because I know how that made me feel. Or maybe it's what you don't want to do too. And so it's watching and learning. And then it's also doing. And I'm a big believer is that you have to fail forward. You have to skin your knees a little bit. But at the same time, you're moving forward. And it's the never stop learning. And you can't know everything at the end of the day, but you have to be really curious about life and people and things, because you bring that into looking at problems differently and how you might want to collaborate with people differently, or how you want to lead your teams differently too. And so I think it's a very important piece, especially with all the noise that we have out there today. If we all were more learners, I think that would help.
When it comes to learning about leadership, who taught you the most?
Oh man, I hate to admit this, Taylor, right? I'm gonna be honest, but that guy, that guy, he was
Give it up for Justin Tuck, everybody.
When you come into a locker room like the Giants, like when I did, right, as an undrafted free agent, I didn't even have a true locker in the locker room when I first came in. We had these, don't laugh, we had these makeshift like lockers for not just the undrafted guys, but the rookies as well, all the rookies. You kind of got to earn a locker, which I respected. I wanted to earn a locker, but when you sit in those lockers, you look to your left and your right, and there's all the guys that are already on the team in these beautiful lockers with chargers. They had charging stations back then. I mean, we didn't have one in the makeshift ones. So they had it was just beautiful. They had all their things in there. And I watched the NFL my entire life, and I aspired to be in my locker and hold a meeting with the media. And that was one thing that I was looking forward to, So when I look to my left and I see Justin Tuck and Osi Umenyiora and Eli Manning on the other side and Steve Smith at the time and Antrell Roll is now on our team. And I'm looking around, I'm like, yo, these are guys that were real guys in college and in the NFL and made their mark in this league, and I want to be like them. So I used to just watch how Justin Tuck moved, watch how he spoke to the media, how he spoke to everyone with respect, with dignity, how he ridiculed some of the friends or some of the teammates that needed it, though, that needed a jolt so they can get a little bit extra out of them in practice this week or a little bit extra in this day of training camp when we got to get better today. Some days in training camp are lulls, right? But you lean on the leadership to inject that energy from time to time to show coach, look, we can ramp it up when we need to, and then we can get back to just managing training camp and getting to where we need to be to ramp it back up for week one when the season really matters. So watching guys like Justin Tuck and watching him move around the locker room, speak to the media, helped me understand how to navigate not just my team and become a leader later on in my years, but how to handle New York City, how to handle the media, how to handle, now I get to go to Knick games with him, and we sit down court. I got the tutelage. I saw how to do it.
You be at every Knick game. I gotta tell you.
Go Knicks. If anybody knows me, I'm at the Knick games. You know what I'm saying? So, but that started with going with Tuck and seeing how he navigated that space and just being around and I just understood very early on what playing in New York City meant. And I think Tuck navigated that and still does to the best of his ability. And I learned a lot from him.
How does it hit you to know that your leadership worked?
Listen, I don't take any credit for that other than the fact that someone taught me that too, right? And it's, again, I use this phrase a lot. If you hear me speak, you hear me say it a lot. I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. I learned from Michael Strahan. I learned from Coach Coughlin. I learned from a lot of different people about how to navigate the things in which I wanted to live in, especially for a kid who grew up in Kelton, Alabama. There's probably more people in this room than it is in Kelton, Alabama, to come and be, somewhat of a notable figure in the biggest and best city in the world. So it took a lot of the same things that Vic is telling you that he saw me do. I did the same things, whether that was on the field or off. And for me, because I was very interested in the transition from sports, so a lot of my leadership qualities comes from hedge fund titans or private equity principles, because those are the things in which I aspired to do once I left football. It's very simple to say the fact that, hey, as a football player, you come into New York City, you see this guy number 92, he's been an all-pro this, all-pro that. Well, I play the same position. Why wouldn't I sit back and say, all right, what has he done to get to that position? And the same thing when I went to Goldman Sachs. All right, XYZ partner of the firm, David Solomon, John Waldron, Eric Lane. Let me sit back and watch these cats and just figure out how are they maneuvering. And then it's once you see how they maneuver, figure out the qualities that you have that look somewhat similar to the ones they have, and make that transition or make that journey yourself. Don't go and say, hey, Michael Strahan's best move is stab slap. I'm going to do the stab slap too. Well, what if I don't have the same qualities? right? What if I don't have the same strength? What if I don't have the same footwork? For those that don't know, that's a power rush. But anyway, but what power rush fits for the attributes that I have? Or what speed rush fits for the attributes I have? O.C. Union was the best at the stab slap. I was not good at the stab slap, but I was good at the stab rip. I'm just making it up as I go, but to that point, it just showcased something what Vic said. No matter where you're at in life, again, I'm gonna say it again, I guarantee you there's somebody who's done what you're trying to do or some version of it that you can learn from. Instead of us being this ego person and saying, hey, I'm gonna do it all by myself, I'm gonna pull myself about the bootstraps. No. Learn about the pitfalls that person went through so you don't have to go through them. And then the efficiency of your time, the efficiency of your journey is so much more magnified by that. So I think I obviously thank you, Vic, for that. And I mean, I guess the check's in the mail. What are you going to say?
You've already paid me back tenfold, my guy. You're
See,
fine.
he's bragging
But
again.
I got one question. How many traffic lights in the town you grew up in?
Traffic lights or caution lights?
Either one, both.
So in the county, there's 1 traffic light and 3 caution lights in the county.
That's crazy.
Wow.
That's crazy.
You know,
I came from a small town.
212 people in Coosa County, 85 of them I know for a fact I'm getting to.
Do you have a street named after you?
Nah, it's too small. They can't just give out streets when
Not
it's
to
only like
make-
Gotta give them
four.
the county.
It's only like 4 streets.
Gotta give
in
them the county.
Yeah.
not to make this the geography of where you're from, but I'm just curious, where would you fly into?
I would fly into Atlanta or Birmingham.
Okay, and then just make the drive.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, one of my favorite Justin Tuck stories that I have heard was about your recruitment to Notre Dame. It was somewhat of a happy
Phenomenal
mistake.
question.
Can you please
I
tell
did homework
the
there.
crowd about this story, but also, more importantly, what it maybe taught you about value?
Well, I don't know how much time we got, but basically, I got recruited to the University of Notre Dame on accident. They went to the wrong high school. At the time, there was 3 schools in the state of Alabama named Central High School. Central High School, Central Tuscaloosa, Central Phoenix City, and Central of Coosa County, where I went to school. If you fly into Birmingham, you get on Highway 280, you can drive by all 3 of them. This was Google Maps time, not Waze or Apple Maps, whatever you want. This was MapQuest.
You were printing it out.
Yeah, this is MapQuest. And I think, well, I know for a fact, they got on Highway 280. Instead of heading north, they head south. And about an hour later, they stopped at a gas station. The gas station was Tulin's gas station. The clerk that night was a girl named Crystal Barker. Crystal Barker was my classmate. Her dad owned the gas station. They said we were recruiting a kid from Central High School. Didn't say his name, didn't say Tuscaloosa County by the University of Alabama. They just said Central High School. She was like, well, obviously they're talking about Justin, and obviously they're talking about Central Coosa County. She literally said to them, you can see the lights of the field from our gas station. As y'all know, in the South, around 6:30, everything starts to shut down. She says, listen, you can wait, and I'll drive you to my parking spot, which is right behind our field house, and I'll take you in that way, or you can drive in there now, and you can park 3 miles down the road. They obviously waited. They get to the game. I have a pretty good game. They realize that they're at the wrong high school. And they watched me play. And long story short, my high school coach, and this is, I shouldn't tell y'all this because y'all gonna make fun of me later about this, how small my town is. The high school football coach is the high school basketball coach, and that guy is my second cousin. True story. His name was Joe Bellew, and that started the recruiting process. Then I got the opportunity to go to the University of Notre Dame and see how different that place was than any other place I'd been to. I've always been a kid that didn't think I was that good at football, but I feel like if I can get a Notre Dame education with football, why wouldn't I do that? So that's, layman's terms, why I went to the University of Notre Dame.
And I mean, it worked out, I would say. That's an amazing story.
Crazy story.
Yeah, you ended up exactly where you were supposed to end up. Really beautiful. You know, for you, Kristyn, I know that your love and passion and dedication to State Farm was actually forged by your family's want to never settle. Can you tell us that story?
Well, I often say it's personal for me. I grew up in a very small town, but not as small as yours, Washington, Pennsylvania. So it's the last town before you get to West Virginia. And I'm the oldest of 3 girls. And my dad, for most of my young life, was a wrestling coach. And he actually was a wrestler growing up. It kind of got him out of really tough times. And so he channeled that. And he's actually now in the Hall of Fame in the state of Pennsylvania for coaching. So I'm very, very proud of him. My mom was a social worker, and so we didn't have much. We had each other, and that's sometimes, right, good enough. He always tells a story that he got recruited for 4 years by State Farm to be a State Farm agent, and he said, no, 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 until one day, and I was in 6th grade, he looked at the three of us and just said, we have to do better. I have to help change our trajectory here. And so they literally took almost every cent that they had and gave up what they knew and what they were comfortable with. And my dad went into State Farm agency, and my mom left, and she joined him too. And so that decision completely changed our lives. I wouldn't be sitting up here now, but more importantly, our gravel driveway, we were able to pave it. And then they were able to go get me a basketball hoop too and put that spotlight up. And so, every night, every day, just the practice and developing the love for the game that then obviously took me to Syracuse. And so I have a legacy that I get to carry. So I have an amazing job that I get to do with great people on the marketing side. And I have the good fortune to lead 19,000 State Farm agents on the sales side too. But for me, I wake up every single day carrying my purpose forward. And my purpose is sometimes you just want to make your mom and dad proud. And that to me is like, what I live for. And at the same time, I'm proud my sister is a State Farm agent in Dallas.
I met her. She's
yes,
great.
I met her too. Yes, I'm very proud of her too. So we're all State Farm. We bleed red. But it is, when you think about the brand and like a good neighbor, State Farm's there, like my life growing up, like we got to live it. And so now I get to amplify it every day with the platform that we have to tell our story.
That is so great. You truly do live in your purpose. That's such a beautiful story. For you, Victor, you talk about, obviously getting to the locker room. You didn't really have a locker. Mm-hmm. You were undrafted. Obviously ended up as a Super Bowl champion, but you were very much so labeled as an underdog. And I'm just curious how being labeled an underdog shaped what you felt like settling was. Because I think that when people think you're that, just taking one step, it feels like you're overachieving. But you took the next step, the next step, the next step. So how did it shape that?
Well, I think for me, it was the constant understanding that I am that underdog. I felt like being an underdog was my superpower. Like, that means that I could always be behind the 8 ball, and my overachievement was always going to be celebrated, but never, it was never enough still. I still needed to do more. I always still needed to continue to prove myself. So yeah, we won a Super Bowl, but that next year I practiced even harder. I worked even harder. I worked the same as if I didn't win the championship or I didn't, break any records at the Giants. I understood that I needed to continue this because they could replace me the next year. They can continue to draft. This is the NFL. Every year you need to continue to prove that you are the same person and that you can continue to build on what you set the year before. So I think that was just the mindset forever. I always was, like I said, in high school, I wasn't the best athlete. There were guys getting recruited higher than me. I only had one scholarship to go to UMass. I made the best of that scholarship. I played, due to some academic issues that we don't have time for, I played 2 years at UMass, broke every record there, top 5 in everything in just 2 years. And then I got my opportunity. Still didn't get drafted though, right? I still had to be an undrafted free agent. So I think, the never settling as an underdog was my cheat code, because every single time I put myself out there, every single time that I had an opportunity to prove myself, I was just proving myself within the sphere of myself, because there was always another guy that was better. I had to continue to keep climbing up and keep climbing forward and never be complacent to where I was in that moment. So settling for anything was just never an option.
I feel very similarly to you, Justin. I just feel like every time I look up, you're doing something new. You are excelling in new business, new venture, and it's so admirable that you are constantly pushing yourself. And this is really for all of you, but I'll start with you, Justin. How do you identify opportunities for that growth? And how do you always encourage and empower yourself, but others around you?
I feel like I know myself well. I think I know the things that I'm interested in. I know the things in which I feel as though will move the needle. And you talked about legacy. My legacy, hopefully my legacy is, just opening up opportunities for other people. Obviously I played a sport that got me to an opportunity to be able to, I think the best investment bank in the world. And so, like, I just want to be someone that represents those people that look like me, that have stories similar to mine. So for me, a lot of things in the way that I move is because of that. You know, how do I take on this new role or learn this new, craft if it doesn't appeal to all the other things in which is in the Rolodex? It has to make sense. It ain't just me being, curious, I guess. The curiosity also has to come with something that's practical. So for me, it's always just one, knowing myself, knowing the things in which I'm interested in, but also the things that I feel as though is going to add to the toolkit of all the other things that go in the mix. I guess the second part of that is just, I have a phenomenal team around me. I felt like I've done a really good job of adding people into my I guess I would call my personal board of directors that touch and feel all the things in which I'm interested in. I have a CEO of my real estate. I have a CEO of, all the things I want to do in tech. I have a CEO of anything I want to do in a sports venture, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And all of these people are people that I met while I was either playing football and trying to be curious about what the transition looked like, or once I got into kind of corporate America, obviously I've added some things that probably wasn't an interest of mine when I was playing. So I think the combination of having all these people around me that have phenomenal expertise in all these sectors in which I'm interested in, they keep me kind of abreast to, like, man, you did X. Now I think you should add this and that. And not only do they say you should add X, but they can help me do that. Where, again, I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm not going through the process of starting at zero. I'm going through the process of starting at wherever they're starting at. Now they just got to get me up to speed. So I think the transition in all these different things, and I guess why I look like I'm doing something new all the time, is because I have phenomenal people that can start me a little bit higher than what I would have done if I'm just going at it on my own.
Personal board of directors is very good. Let's see if you can.
I had to get one in there because she said
good.
Corporate America.
A lot of gems.
I'm
We're loading up the terms up here.
Thank you.
I love that. TJ's in my personal board of directors. I call him before everything and ask if I should do it. Let's give it up for TJ. All right, what about you? How do you find new areas of growth?
I think it comes back to just at the foundation, there's a set of core principles that I live by, and I think they've been implanted in me being raised by a coach. That's kind of always in my ear still, and that kind of is a notion that success is where preparation meets opportunity. And I'd like to kind of hold myself to a standard to where I'm always going to be prepared. But at the same time, I'm going to also give myself grace too, because I think there's two sides of that coin. And at the foundation, my dad always told me three things that I think has come true. One is just always outwork them. And that's not just in the physical sense, but then also in the mental sense, but then also know when it's time to kind of shut it down, which I am going to do tonight when I fly home and be in my own bed, right? So that's you got to recognize that. And then the second piece is that always give yourself a chance to win, because you'll miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. And that's really important for me, whether or not it's leaning in, getting my voice in the room, or I've had to ask for the job. I've had to ask for more money. All those things, and just the courage to do that. And it's something that I try to instill in my team, because you have to be a role model. And I think it's important, too, that people can't be what they can't see. And I take that in a very responsible sense. And then lastly, I think the most important thing is just control what you can control. There's so many things that are outside your control. Like in our industry, it's very competitive, and you can live in the competition, what they're doing. And I always tell the team, like, we got to watch film. We got to know what they're doing so that, we can sharpen our saw. But at the end of the day, we're going to play our game. And what is our game? And how do we execute on that strategy that's uniquely us at State Farm? Because we believe that having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. See, I got it in. Are you happy? Okay.
She's a pro.
Yeah, so I think those things are really important in terms of just creating that opportunity, but the essence is that it starts with preparation day in, day out.
And preparation has certainly been a through line in this. Just knowing as much as you can, I think, is a good antidote for that pressure that you referenced earlier. I have the same question for you about places of growth, but When I think about just the life and career that you have carved out, Victor, it is so intentional. I think, of course, when we think about Victor, we think about the Giants, but we also think about fashion and we think about, just media and person-to-person connection. So what is your thought process when you decide to take opportunities? What do you say no to? What do you say yes to? And how does it all lend itself to the broader universe of Victor Cruz?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think a lot of it for me is, one, my team, right? I have a phenomenal team. Shout out to Brianna, who's in here, who
Brianna
definitely gives me, is my discernment button in my brain on whether or not I should do this. Sometimes I come to her really excited about something. She was like, I don't think you need to do that. Or she goes, you ain't got the time to do all of that. I don't know who brought that to you, but maybe we can do half of that. And then we navigate that the way we do. But I think the biggest thing for me is not having any fear. I think I go into things so fearless. If I'm adamant about it, if I'm passionate about a certain thing, and it's maybe something that's outside of my realm or maybe just outside of my comfort zone, but it speaks to me, I want to do it. And I want to go and conquer that task and climb that bridge. Because there's a young kid that's in college right now or playing a sport, or a young athlete that's looking at me and being like, okay, I wonder what Victor's going to do next. I know about the salsa dance. I know about him being a Giants player. I know about all these pillars of him, but what's he going to do next? So now, I'm on TNT every weekend doing the Big 12, and I see these young kids dancing salsa so there's a thing we do at the end of the show. We interview one of the players, and we ask them, we have Victor Cruz on our show, and every single time, they know who I am when they were like 3 when we won a championship, and I'm like, how do you even know who I am? But B, they start dancing before we even ask them now. And it's just like, that just triggers in my mind how much, of an impact that I had on them as a youth, and even on YouTube. I feel like some of them just watch on YouTube now and still had an impact, which is incredible. And then B, how much they look up to me and are looking forward to what I'm doing next, and look forward to just the things and the lanes that I'm carving out for myself. And I know I carry an important task to continue to do things and continue to open these doors for them so that they can climb up and climb through them when it's their time as well. So I just want to be fearless and continue to navigate this space and continue to, not be afraid of opportunities when they come my way. And just understanding the minute I hear about something new and it hits me in the stomach and I'm like, oh, I need to do that. But if it's something I got to think about a little bit, or I'm kind of weighing it, then I understand immediately that's just not for me. And it is. But I know what is for me, Taylor. And I don't know if this is the stage to do it, but boy, I'd look good in a State Farm commercial. Don't you think? Don't you think that I look good when I look?
Victor and Jake.
I saw the build-up.
Me and Jake, think about it. Me and Jake.
Hey, we've got the people there for you
Jake
to chat
and
with.
salsa.
And Jake can dance.
Jake can dance.
Jake can dance.
Yeah,
so,
feel it.
So.
Lesson number 1, pitch yourself, everybody.
I love it. That was
Fearless.
That was
Fearless. Yeah.
Fearless.
That was fearless.
You know what I mean?
I like it.
But yes,
But-
it's all of those things that I mentioned. Yes.
Honestly, though, something that resonates with me, and I know Kristyn talks about this a lot, is authenticity. Because the reason that the salsa dance kind of took on a mind of its own was because it was very you. Like when you did it, you didn't think it was going to begin the craze that it did. But it is one of the main things that people think of when they think about Victor Cruz.
Yeah, and it's incredible. It's a continuance of an homage to my grandmother, who and to my people, for starters. Right, I'm Puerto Rican. My mother's Puerto Rican. I was raised in a very Hispanic, very Spanish household. My house was the party house until I was 9 years old. We had people coming over. There was music in my house from sun up to sundown, from the day I was born till about 9 years old, like till we moved out. Like there was always music happening. And there was always people. And when there wasn't people, my grandmother and my grandfather were dancing in the living room. And that's how my grandmother taught me every dance in the book. So it was just so a part of my DNA that when I got to the NFL, and even when I got my first start, my coaches were like, one of my coaches was like, yo, you got to represent your culture in the end zone, or just in general. He didn't say in the end zone or anything. And I was like, bro, I'm an undrafted free agent. I'm just trying to catch this football from a soon-to-be Hall of Famer and get out the way. Like, I don't even think you understand the level of fear that I have right now. But long story short, the very first pass that I caught, I shake 2 guys up the sideline and I get in the end zone, and I was like, I have to do this salsa dance now. Like, there's no other dance. There's no other thing for me to do.
I love Justin's face.
Right?
I mean, I remember the story like it was yesterday, so he's not lying at all.
And then right after that, for the first time, after I did that dance for the first time, they aired the celebration on Univision and Telemundo, and my grandmother got to see it a couple years before she passed, and she got to see me on television doing that dance that she taught me in her living room. So it was just like a full circle moment. So from now on, it costs a little bit extra to do the salsa, but it's still okay.
He's like, so don't ask me to stand up and do it right now.
I'll do it for State Farm. I'll do it for the commercial. But it just costs a little extra pennies now.
Yeah, we all got it in mind. I love it. But
we're taking notes.
Taking lots of notes. Speaking of State Farm, though, it has been truly one of the joys of my career to be a partner with State Farm as a broadcaster, because I don't think that any company markets and works with athletes better than you all do. What do you think is the secret sauce? So what goes into how you all formulate all of this, and really what makes you the best?
Well, we love our relationship with you, and the best is yet to come, and we're very proud of you also, too. And so I think it comes back to sports is a very important piece to driving our business outcomes. So first and foremost. But at the same time, when we take a step back, we recognize that it brings fans and families and friends together. Like, it's just such a sense of community, and that's who State Farm is. And we also recognize that, especially the younger generations, oftentimes they follow more so the athletes than maybe teams. And our ability to be able to storytell around that is so very important, because we want to be in culture. And so that's why so many years later, right, that salsa is important, because it brings together passions and fandom, music and dancing and sports. And we're very proud of what we continue to do with athletes. And our team, State Farm athlete roster, Patrick Mahomes and Caitlin Clark and Juju Watkins in particular. And it's an opportunity to kind of, they're excellent. We think of our brand as excellent. Let's kind of bring it together and tell stories. But at the same time, we also want to impact the community together. And so whether or not it's 15 and Mahomes with Patrick, Chris Paul and HBCU, Caitlin and all the work that she does too, it just kind of comes full circle when you think about our brand in particular. And so I think at the end of the day, we've been very fortunate to kind of, I think, choose right, but it's a very intentional thing. And sometimes you have to have insights. You have to be in the market too. You have to understand and learn. That's one of the reasons why we're here, because then we walk away with just a better understanding of culture and what's the insights that we need to know, and that kind of always learning aspect of things. And so very proud of what we do. I think the best is yet to come, but the very key piece too is around our assets, because it helps bring that to life. And so the Jake from State Farm, you put him next to Victor Cruz, you put that dance together, and then all of a sudden...
It's working. It's working.
It's what we call kind of like lightning in a bottle. It's the magic moments that happen that people will remember too, because for us, we're in the attention business at the end of the day. And so it's how we capture attention so we can tell the brand story, because our mission is to help people at the end of the day. And so how do we capture that attention so we can have more people choose us?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's flawless. State Farm is just so ingrained in culture and everything we do. So bravo to all involved. But tell me, we're at time. So my last question for you all, just in the spirit of never settling, what's more? What does more look like for you? I'll start with you, Justin.
What does more look like? I don't know. I think more looks more the same, to be honest with you. Just
a lot of mores.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
The quote of the day.
It's more, I think, just means that I get the opportunity to bring more people along on this journey. I do what I do. I mean, listen, y'all heard, I'm a kid from Kelton, Alabama. I've been more successful than I ever dreamed I could be. So for me, it isn't about what's next for Justin. It's more about what's next for those people who want to go on this journey and do some of the things that I'm doing. Or if I can open up an avenue or a door for, like Victor said, there's so many people out there that could probably see themselves being the next football player, but more importantly, being the next, corporate athlete or the next doctor or the next, whatever it looks like. I just want to be a part of their journey and help them not make the mistakes that a lot of people make when they don't have somebody that can kind of push them to the top of the heap instead of them starting from zero. So for me, it's more about, how do I use my platform to be a representation of what can be if you go and do the work, if you really, really put yourself out there and don't settle. Those are the things that really, really excite me.
Love that. What about for you, Kristyn? What's more?
I think it's three things. I recognize that I stand on the shoulders of others that came before me. And so it's important for me to be shoulders for people to stand on too. And I'm the first female and minority in my role in the company's history. And I take that personally, and there's a sense of responsibility too, to lift other people up and to, hello.
Really?
He's like, I'm a busy man.
Really?
He's like, I need to get to a meeting. And so I think that's very important. I think the second thing is just around impacting people. And I have a personal kind of purpose in terms of helping people become the best that they are capable of becoming. So whether or not it's State Farm agents or this brilliant team that I get to work with, because all the accolades and things that you're talking about, this special brand, it's because we have brilliant teammates and our partners here in the room too. And so the role that I play to that end is really important. And then I think the last thing is about, I always remind myself this, is that remember who you are, because we all have unique gifts and skills and abilities that we've been given, and like you're here right now at this time to kind of give those to the world. And so I think it's reminding myself of that. And I got some advice recently from somebody that knows me very well, and she said a great exercise to do is to do a pre-mortem. So think about retirement, which I can't even think about, but like down the road, right? And she said, think about your retirement party, and what are you retiring from, and who's there, and what are they going to say about you? And what are you going to say about it? And just play that out, all the specifics, right? And then just capture that. And at the end of the day, you never know where life is going to go, but at the same time, if you can be intentional around it too, I think that's really important.
I love that. Yeah, and giving yourself, a goal and sort of trajectory of what you want things to look like. Okay, to close us out, I'm going to ask you something just slightly different.
'Cause I was lost, and that was great.
Yeah, it was
That
great.
awesome.
I was like, we're going to switch it over, Victor. Okay. When settling feels like an option, the easy option, what is it that you tell yourself about yourself?
Oh, that's a great question. I think when settling kind of creeps into my mind and kind of that self-doubt or just kind of being like, I think I've reached the ceiling, I think about the people before me. I think about, or the people that haven't even reached this level, and how I can exceed that, how I can do more to just elevate that partnership or elevate that particular opportunity. I understand that like I have a unique position to now go into these rooms and dictate a little bit of what I want to do and how I want to be perceived. And I have a brand that I have to protect now. So I want to protect that brand in every single room that I go into. So I never want to settle. I never want to just say, I reached for this. I came into a meeting or I came into an opportunity wanting it to be this high or this expectation. And they met me down here, but I was like, I'm not going to settle for that. I want what I want, and I can take that somewhere else now because I've built my brand to that level. So I want everyone to think about, everyone's built their own brands, and never settle just being right here with your brand. Always go for what you shot for, and if they don't want to give you that, just take it somewhere else. I think that's the biggest thing that I can give.
I'm ready to run through a wall. I love it. 3 exceptional corporate athletes. Thank you all so much. Thank you to State Farm, thank you to Boardroom, and thank you to all of you for being here. Thank you.